You were born in the quiet town of Yotsuba in Shellstown. Life flowed smoothly and calmly, without excessive hurry. She was genuinely admired by the Marine infantrymen. These were strong, confident, and reliable people. They wore perfect, neat uniforms. Their sharp sabers glittered brightly in the sun. Their ships have caused respect for anyone who saw them. You decided firmly, I will become one of them. I will make the world better and more fair. You joined the naval fleet, becoming a recruiter with a low rank. Your title was the lowest among all, but at first, everything seemed wonderful. You have proudly issued a completely new Marine uniform. You have been taught to use different types of weapons properly. You have been taught to maintain order and discipline among the population. You felt incredible pride by wearing this uniform. Others looked at you with the same respect. Which once ago did you feel yourself? You were sure that a bright and just future awaited you ahead. But suddenly everything has changed at one point. When Morgan was appointed by the commander, on your home island, he was a cruel and ruthless leader. Its influence was depressing and indisputable. Having gained power, he began to terrorize both subordinates and civilians. He forced the population to pay excessive and unbearable taxes. He arrested anyone who considered the slightest threat to himself. Those who dared to resist were declared traitors and executed by order. But one day he appeared, together with the hunter behind the heads of Ranoa Zoro. Luffy saved you and other residents of the town. One bold and decisive act. It was then that you realized that the world is not only a strict reign of Morgan. You realized that there were other paths, other ideals that can be imitated. Together with your comrades, you paid tribute and thanks to Luffy and Zoro. You were aware that you thanked them all you have. A new recruit with pink hair named Koby reminded you why you decided to become a sailor. It was your determination to move forward, to reach your goal, your belief in justice and nobility. You decided to stay in Shellstown, on your island, but very quickly realized that being a Marine infantryman does not always mean being a hero. During training, you were taught not only to protect innocent people, but to obey any orders without unnecessary questions, even if these orders contradicted your conscience and internal principles. Sometimes you had to protect the corrupt aristocrats who humiliated your subjects. It used to be that you had to deliberately not notice the crimes. If it was profitable for your command, you thought you came into the fight against evil. But sometimes you felt as if you were part of this evil. When Morgan finally left the island, you realized that nothing has changed significantly. The life of the Marines has turned into endless, monotonous patrols. The boring changes were endless, accompanied by constant tension and anxiety. You thought you would be in a battle with pirates and became a real hero. Instead, you spent hours staring at the empty horizon. When the pirates really appeared, the situation worsened sharply. They were much stronger, faster, and more skillful than you. Many of them possessed devilish fruits, which made them almost invincible. You only had a musket, saber, and your courage, and also a fleeting hope that you will not die in your first battle. You began to notice more injustice among Marines. You realized that not all Marines have equal conditions and opportunities. Those who had communications or relatives in high positions were moving up for no reason. You stayed in one place, knowing that you can become the same ruthless monster. You have never been taught to ask questions and have no doubt. Just obey orders, no matter how absurd or cruel they may be. So lasted until one day. Your detachment was ordered to attack a peaceful village where pirates allegedly hid. You wanted to refuse to fulfill this cruel order. If you obey the order, you will betray your ideals, but if you refuse, you will be called a traitor. In any case, you lost. And over time, you realized that the boundary between good and evil was extremely blurred. Pirates you once hated sometimes showed more nobility and honor than those officers who gave you orders. Especially Luffy, who once saved you at a difficult time. You have coped with all the tasks and became the best in your unit. Again and again, you argued that he was able to think and act correctly. Your reputation grew rapidly among comrades and management. Finally, you were raised to the title of senior sailor of the first class. And then the world government declared a large-scale war against the mighty Jonko of Belovis and his pirate team. You and other sailors were sent to the heart of this decisive battle. It was there that the fate of the world was to decide. You were aware that this war was a turning point in your career that you had no right to miss. You said goodbye to your parents, telling them warm words. Together with his comrades, you quickly got Marineford because he was near your island. There you saw everyone who once imagined or saw in the pictures. Vice admirals that you have admired since childhood. Commodores whose names were heard in military legends. Shichibukayev, famous and formidable Marine warlords. Pacifists are a powerful weapon that has been horrified by pirates. Previously, you only read about them in newspapers or heard from others, and now you stood side by side with them, on one line. Other young soldiers, the same as you, they burned faith in justice and sought to fight. You all gathered to demonstrate all the power of the naval fleet. and to defeat the team of Belovus, the strongest pirate of the world. But when the battle began, you saw a real hell that you didn't even imagine. All your ideals began to collapse simply in your eyes. Belovus was a terrible force that inspired fear and respect. His strokes crashed everything around like brittle ice. His presence brought with him death, fear, and chaos. Its commanders acted in harmony, showing cruel efficiency. You watched how your comrades die one by one. One died under the wreckage of a broken ship. Another instantly absorbed the lava after a powerful attack by admiral. They shouted and pleading for help dissolved in the noise of battle. Even the marine warlords who were considered allies did not regret anyone. They did not fight for you or for ordinary soldiers. They had their own hidden interests. They played their own cruel game. One blow from them could mean death. You stood, squeezing a weapon, and realized that there was no justice here. Only a ruthless war that absorbs the life, dreams, and minds of people. You were not ready for such realities of war. In the center of this chaos was he, Luffy, who desperately tried to save his brother. He was surrounded by pirates, and this time even a Zoro. He fought next to him. And suddenly you lost consciousness from strange power. It was not just a power. It seemed that nature itself stopped time. When you got over, the world seemed blurred and someone else's. The body engulfed a terrible pain, as if every cell screamed with pain. The head exploded with terrible pain, and thoughts were scattered. You tried to understand what happened, but everything was confusing. Only when you saw the other surviving, who started explaining the event, did everything become clearer. It turned out that when Luffy shouted, a strange, incomprehensible force went through everyone around. From his cry that had a visible and incomprehensible power, you and your comrades have lost the consciousness that they are astonished with this power. Later explained, it was the Haki of the Conqueror. Special force given only to the elected. Only a few people in the world have this unique ability. Luffy has grown significantly from the day he saved you. And what happened to Chornov Borodim after the betrayal of the world government? He renounced his title Shichibuhai and disappeared from sight. At this point, the world has changed forever. The strongest pirate of Belovus was killed, and his power was inherited by Blackbearded. A new era began, but this is not over. The words that were then led to the conclusion of a peace treaty. The world tried to understand the scale of what happened. The war ended, but the air was still heavy from grief. You knew that it was only a temporary rest, and peace would not last long. Life will never be the same as before. You survived, but the price you paid was too high. Now you doubted everything you used to. Was it worth going to such casualties? Were your dreams of such pain and loss? Was it worth sacrificing freedom and conscience for the sake of beautiful form and prestige? You wanted to become a hero, but instead, it turned into a small screw in a ruthless and indifferent military car. Now imagine that you have reached the high rank, such as a cane or even Kichi is unexpected. At this level, you are clearly aware of what is important only power. People around become just a means, and they have to obey, despite their cruelty and fanatical faith in absolute justice. They serve as heavenly dragons. Their war against pirates and revolutionaries are just the world government instrument. But there is something else. You realize that pirates are not always enemies. Sometimes it happens. They can become allies, and there is a revolutionary army whose leaders, such as Dragon, openly challenge this world. Sometimes you think they may be right. You may not serve justice, but a system that destroys life. The hardest to realize when you see this system forces us to suffer from ordinary Marines, your comrades. Their families remain in poverty, and high-ranking officials continue their ruthless games for power. You understand that no one appreciates their victims. For the world government, you are just a tool that will throw away as soon as it breaks. And here you are lying on the hospital bed, looking into the ceiling. You no longer dream of glory. You just want to survive in this cruel world. In the world where to be a Marines means an endless struggle. Against enemies, systems, and himself. Can you live with who he became? Will you take the risk? Everyone to find your own way? There are many questions, and there are few answers. But one thing you know for sure, being a Marines is not as glorious as you once imagined. It is better to subscribe to us and like this video.